My name is Susan Agoi. I head the communication department, and the some of the leaders that you're going to interact with in the speaking session, and are those who are working behind the scenes to make sure you're having a seamless experience. Right about now, it's just to know where you're joining us from. We'd like to have you use the chat function on your screen. It might appear as the Q&A. If you're not able to see it on the go, you can be able to tap on the more section. It will bring a Q&A session segment on your end. Kindly type in the segment to let us know where you're joining us from. Just at a quick glance, I can see we have David in the room. We have Faith. Welcome, Faith. We have Juliana. We have Rashida. We have Yawo. We have Wajiku. We are so delighted to have you here. You can keep on typing from where you're joining us from. Our support team is ready to engage you in the chat section so that you're having a good experience here. Today, we are unpacking a very important conversation on MICE technology and innovation. Technology has been here with us for the longest time possible, and it's about time we get to know how it's affecting us in the MICE industry. Is it bringing us opportunities? Are there challenges that we are facing? And I have an array of speakers in the room who are ready to share their expertise. They're ready to tell us what the insights are in regards to this conversation. I have Francis Njue, who is the founder of Venura Global. I have Ananth all the way from Singapore, joining us from Snapsight AI. I have Mulemwa. Mulemwa Muhonga is the partnership lead at the Africa MICE Hub, and Kezi Mokeri, who is the convener of the Africa MICE Summit. All of them are ready to share insights with you. And just before we get started, let us continue sharing where you're joining us from. Just looking at the chat function, I can see Wambui Kanuri is joining us from Lurat Hotels. Welcome. Also on the attendees, as we wait more people to join in, just share your expectations for this webinar. Are there any questions you have? Are there any specific topics you want to be addressed? We are here to answer all those questions. I can see David joining us from Trenium Hospitality, Ulwazi, Nairobi. Welcome. Thank you for being in the room. We have Rashida from Morocco, all the way from Morocco. At this point, we might as well declare this webinar an international event. Thank you for joining us, Rashida. Continue engaging us in the chat section. As I said, from your screen, it appears as the Q&A, and we are ready to get those questions and have our speakers address them. Just before I bring in the speakers to unpack this conversation, we will be undertaking a quick poll to understand the market needs, to understand where the gaps are when it comes to technology in Africa. So even as you type in where you're joining us from, be on the lookout on the pop-up on the screen to undertake a very quick poll. We have Rashida saying there's an issue of the chat. So the tech team, you can handle that. But Rashida, as I mentioned, the chat segment comes out as a Q&A section. If you can't see it as a glance, please tap on the more button. You'll be able to engage us there. The poll is already on the screen, and we are asking a very critical question. What is currently the biggest technology gap in delivering events in Africa? As I said, technology is already here with us, and in the event industry, we get to interact with various technologies. But what is currently the biggest technology gap that we're experiencing in the MICE industry? You can interact with the poll and give us your answers. Is it registration and attendee management? Is it B2B matchmaking? and networking? Is it audience engagement? Is it event data and analytics? Is it AI and automation? Is it payment and ticketing? Keep your answers coming. So far, good engagement there. Keep your answers coming on the poll. We are ready to use these answers to tailor the insights that are coming in from the speakers. Thank you for those who are taking part in the poll. And just also to acknowledge more people coming in the room. We have Dana Kuria, we have Juliana, we have Mastebe, we have Njuku Mbugwa, Kato Samuel, thank you for being in the room. Thank you for investing this hour to contribute to the MICE conversation on technology and innovation. We have registration and attendee management coming up as the biggest gap. Would like to know why. Maybe you can tell us in the comment, in the chat session. So far, no more voting on maybe B2B matchmaking, audience engagement, maybe based on your experience in the event management sector or what you've experienced just attending an event. Is there any gap that you saw in the technology segment that you think the event industry needs to adjust on while moving forward? Thank you. Oh, I can see AI and automation. I know when the topic is about AI, we have so much to say. So I think those are the ones that stand out as the biggest technology gaps that we are experiencing. We leave it at that because of time. We don't intend to keep you past the 1 hour that we asked you to invest. So allow me to move to the insight part because we are ready to listen to the speakers. And I just want to bring up the first speaker of the day. His name is Francis Njue. Francis is, I'd say, a household name when it comes to MICE technology, especially in Kenya. He has founded so many technology initiatives that are driving the MICE and hospitality industry forward. Currently, he is the founder of Venura Global and is going to talk to us on the topic of building technology for Africa's events industry. Is it possible to have technologies that are specific to the needs of the African continent? Francis, we can't wait to hear from you. Take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. Susan, I hope you can hear me. I hope I'm visible enough. Am I audible? Can you hear me? Just to confirm that we can do.
Yes, Francis, we can hear you loud and clear and you're visible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So it's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Francis Njue, and it's a pleasure to join you today and to share the subjects on building technology for Africa, Africa's event industry. And I would like to begin with a simple thought that there's a difference between technology that is used in Africa and the technology that is built for Africa. And we have become very good in consumer of technologies on this part of the continent. We use platforms developed across the world to register delegates, sell tickets, communicate, process transactions, and manage different aspects of the event. But I believe the next chapter must be different. We must increasingly ask ourselves, what would the event technology look like if we built it from the realities of the African event? Because our market is has its own realities. You know, we are a mobile fast continent. We have some of the most innovative payment ecosystems in the world, particularly around mobile money. We operate across markets with different levels of connectivity and infrastructure. Our events range from small corporate meetings and association conference to government summit, religious gatherings, exhibitions, festivals, major international congresses. And our venues also vary significantly in their levels of digitization. And therefore, if you are going to build technology for this industry, we must begin with our own environment, starting with the problem, not the technology. And I've seen from the ports, you can see registration coming in very strongly. And we have had conversation around the industry where people use diverse technologies. So one of the biggest lessons we have learned while we are building Venura is very simple, that we don't start with the software, we start with the event. Go to registration desk, stand at the entrance when hundreds of delegates arrive at the same time, talk to event organizers, talk to the venue, talk to security, talk to the caterer, and very importantly, talk to the finance after the event. Because we must build the technologies that are solving our own problems. We have had conversation with the event organizers and the venues, and one of the key things that came out was the way a venue, for example, a hotel, would want to bill, for example, the government agencies that are paying them. And that document, as it is today, it has to be somehow manual in a way. And we had to create a solution around that. And these are the things that are realities on this part of the continent. So this is where you begin to understand the real problems when you engage the people. Sometimes you think registration is the problem, but when you get into the event flow, you discover something completely different. Perhaps people registered, but payment reconciliation is difficult. Perhaps registration went well, but the organizer cannot efficiently control access in different areas. You also find perhaps everyone entered the event successfully, but nobody can accurately determine how many meals were actually served. Or even the technology works perfectly, but it takes too many steps for delegates to use. So this has taught us something very important. So some of the best technology opportunities in Africa are hiding inside every operational problem. And sometimes the solution doesn't need to be complicated. It simply needs to solve the right problem. So think about the delegate journey, for example. We need to move beyond thinking of the event technology simply as registration and ticketing, and think about it as a journey of one delegate. The first, they discover the event, they register, they make the payment if it's a paid event, they receive communication from the organizer, then they arrive at the venue, they check in, they receive accreditation, they access different spaces, they attend sessions, they interact with exhibitors, they consume meals, they network, they receive updates. And after the event, they may provide feedback, continue engaging with the event organizer. That is one delegate. But behind that one delegate, we may have 5, 6, or even 10 different system processes. And we can see it in all the events. And sometimes those systems don't communicate with each other. The delegates, however, doesn't care about our systems. The delegate simply wants the event to work. So they don't want to register online, then arrive at the venue only to find that their name is missing from another list. They don't want to show proof of payment 3 times. They don't want to spend unnecessary time queuing. They don't want to repeatedly, provide information, that they have already given. So I believe one of the biggest opportunities in African event technology is to create a connected delegate journey, from registration to payment to arrival to access to engagement and eventually to feedback. So the technology should become almost invisible. The experience is what should be visible. So the second thing we are learning in the event is not the isolated activity. It is an ecosystem. You have the organizer, you have the venue, you have the delegate. But around them, you have payment providers, you have caterers, you have security teams, you have exhibitors, you have suppliers, the transport providers, accommodation providers, and many others. All these stakeholders are participating in the same event, and yet many of them are operating independently. That creates another opportunity for technology. So instead of only asking what feature should we build next, perhaps we should be asking who needs to connect with who, what information needs to move between them, and where can technology remove the friction. So once you begin asking those questions, you stop thinking about individual features and begin thinking about the event technology ecosystem. So this is very much the journey we have been experiencing while building Venura. And Venura started with identifying the technology gaps around the events and access, but you have also continued engaging the organizers, the venues, the institutions, and delegates. The opportunity has continued to evolve. And you went an organization thinking that their biggest need is event registration. Then you discover that the payment management is the major challenge. And this is something like even this morning you are dealing with. You solve registration and payment, and another problem emerges around accreditation and access. At another event, the bigger issue is meal management and accountability. For another organization, you find it's managing visitors and vehicles. For another venue is understanding what is happening across multiple events. And this has taught us perhaps one of the most important lessons, that the market helps you build the product. So you build, you deploy, you observe, you learn, and then you improve. That is why today, when you're developing what you've been developing, our vision is to basically build an operating platform that can help our venues, events, while enhancing the delegate experience. So that means connecting areas such as event venues and the entire process. So not every event needs every capability. And that is another important lesson, that you find different events need different components. So African technology must be flexible. A 150-person corporate meeting does not have the same requirement as a 5,000-person congress. So same case applies to hotels and the government offices and all that. So we must build for reality, but also build to global standards. So this is another point that it's very, very important, that even as we build for Africa, we must build in a way that we can be able to scale beyond the continent of Africa. So the opportunity ahead, I believe the opportunity is, Africa is growing in event and MICE industry. We have young, increasingly sophisticated technology ecosystem, and you have rapidly digitizing economies. So every part of it, of this economy is digitizing. So we should see Africa, or we should build the next generation of events that can be created to be extremely connected, so that the system can be able to work through the entire ecosystem. So we certainly do not claim that what you've been building, for example, at Venura and everybody else that we have been engaging with has built, we have solved all the problem. We believe we should continue building, we should continue listening to the industry. We believe strongly in the opportunity of technology. We also believe that Africa should not only be a consumer of event technology. We should be able to build the technologies for Africa. So that is my quick brief on this meeting. It's only 10 minutes, so I'm trying to make it as brief as possible. But basically, what Africa is looking for is connectedness and solving the real problems that the African technologies or the African MICE industry requires. Thank you very much, Susan and the team.
Thank you very much, Francis, for that insightful session. you are touching on a very key element of building ecosystems. I believe moving forward in the technology segment, systems that are able to work together are the ones that will move the industry forward. You've also touched on the key aspect of making sure that the technology appeals to the needs and the scale of events. Thank you to our audience. If you have any questions in regards to Mr. Francis, you can share in the chat and we'll be able to take a moment afterwards to address them. Thank you for that. And allow me to move swiftly now that we've underscored the need of building technologies that are specific to the African continent. Now let's hear about a technology revolution that has, the technology revolution that has revolutionized the mice industry. We have Mr. Ananth Mulapudi all the way from Singapore, representing one of our partners at the Africa Mice Summit 2026, and that is the Snapsight AI. And while Ananth is taking care of revenues at Snapsight AI, I believe is able to help us table this debate once and for all. Is AI here to replace us as humans, or is it here actually to enhance processes in the events industry? Mr. Ananth, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Susan, for that introduction. And it's a real pleasure to be here because to answer your question, I hope we get replaced soon because I'm too tired already. But jokes apart, it's been a whirlwind of so much of overwhelming situations that we deal with in regards to AI. I'm sure everybody's too tired of people telling them how they can use AI to enrich their lives or change or disrupt or everything. So we've been doing that from 3 years. But I think one thing that makes me very happy is that the mice industry is something that we've worked with around more than a decade by creating multiple products. We are now able to give back with a segregated approach of multiple experiences now with the help of AI. This AI is a term loosely thrown out there, but what we have created and we were able to create partnering with so many of the clients that we worked with, the partners that we have, is that we are able to generate a real value system that is coming through the cycle, and it has a proper loop where from whatever we are delivering has a close linked ROI to it, and it has a chain reaction to it and a continuity to it. So our journey started 3 years back, where especially in the product and for generative AI as the base, where when we understood that virtual events has taken its place, networking has taken its place, registration has taken its place, all of this has done a lot towards creating that full-fledged workflow of events. But then we sat down to understand, okay, what was if we would set back and clean the slate and say, let us start again to build something that might be of use. Then we went ahead and met around 2,000 event professionals globally. Many of them together had come across with workshops. We did surveys, we did one-on-ones, we did interviews, and so much. That time and everything gave us that. I'm sure this is not a top one priority, but one thing came is that whenever you go to an event, which is a business event, there is so much insights that are generated at an event. But that insights take a step back after the event is done, everybody forgets what happens. So we thought, why is that content being evaporated? So that is where we started our journey, where creating that experience where attendees can retain more content and then move to the space where attendees can access more content with translation. And now we are able to strongly say that attendees and also organizers are able to create ROI with that content as well. And all of it using through AI itself. So what we visualize is what MICE delivers. What does it do on a regular basis is that it enables somebody's at some point to fill an airline seat, to get a hotel room, to get that space at an event so that there is an ecosystem that is enriched. Because everyone who is, let us take an example that if somebody has to move the machine and create that space, somebody needs to come there as a delegate to create that ecosystem impact. So with MICE enablement, there is year-round demand. There are spending visitors that travel around and create that impact in urban and maybe not some urban, but some exotic places as well. That is where we envision that AI plays the biggest of roles. When you are automating is one step, but AI enables workflows and imagination. What I mean by this is that this particular geography that we are right now very lucky to serve has the biggest of advantage, because as much as the boom has been created, there is a real intention for events to be produced at this place, because Africa has this particular advantage in this juncture, because the mice industry has the particular journey it has taken, and multiple industries, healthcare, tech, pharma, or anybody who is in that segment has a big appetite to now travel to Africa and also do events there as well. And to utilize it, it is just not only our product. I think there is a lot more that AI can deliver, because Africa is particularly multilingual by default. It has the quick adoption of mobile first nature. You skipped that generation where there was one step of landlines and there was direct development faster, so that there is now scope for regional trade hubs growing. When this experience has started, when we are also in this juncture, there is more investment and more interest towards it, that is the time that we should enable AI to ensure that the results are bigger. Let us say that if somebody would be planning let's say an incentive trip in Africa, or even a smaller group of a meeting, or even exposition itself, how does that work is that when others are coming to that story, you're enabling translation, you enabling real-time AI, you enabling the experiences using AI will ensure that the organizers are not taking a beating on costs. At the same time, understanding that technology and coding is as cheapest as possible right now. It is the most easiest thing, and the cheapest product available is code. There is nothing else cheaper than that. So utilizing that, if somebody is able to make a real impact at a place, you're enabling more and more experiences to happen at your own local domain. And then that makes you stand stronger and taller, and every edition once in one. One of the biggest events that happens in European segments are healthcare congresses. Few technical and fintech events are always nuanced, content driven, so that multiple multinational attendees join there. How would this makes a more effective experience for them is that the languages are not the barriers. The experiences or the content does not stop it from interacting each other, so that the distilling content and giving content for accessibility will ensure that there is less scope for there is less bridges, there's less walls, and there is more scope for connectivity. When speakers and session content is shared with the attendees, that gives the biggest of experience shared open to the attendees itself. We have seen ourselves by enabling 75 languages in our product, we've seen extreme high level of adoption across the globe. And coming to what happens is that AI removes that content block, because when the bottleneck is removed, let's an example is that one of the global conference that was produced in Taiwan ran without flying any translators from the local regions or from a different nation as well. These kind of simple enablement with AI ensures that the more budget is catered towards the venues, the experiences, the production, and also the suppliers at the local level with food and F&B also gets bigger priority. And effectively, that taste travels faster. And rather than you would want to depend on barriers and old school technology of or old school enablement of translation or summarization or note taking as well. So this is where we feel that intelligence becoming layered becomes more experiential and interactive. That's where there is scope for bigger and impactful networking, and all of this has high level of sponsor value as well. So live interaction, translation, insights, content, and intelligence. This is the way forward, and collaborating with all of the current event technology, then we should actually have more and more experiences in this region. We have done this for quite a while now with 4,500 events. I would welcome anyone in the room who is interested. We would be happy to onboard you for your first event for free, where you can utilize it for a few sessions on how this works at any of your event. It can be a keynote, a fireside chat, or a panel discussion anywhere, so that you understand how it can impact real time and post event. Please do not forget to mentioning Africa Mice as in the booking link, so that you would get your free discount as well. I appreciate this time, and over to you, Susan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anand. That's very insightful. There's so much that AI can do. I was listening to your presentation, and it's possible to actually translate real data in the moment and get more conversions from an event. And you're not only telling us about the benefit, you're even teasing us with, a promotion that when we get to sign in your platform, we get the first session for free. Thank you for that. To our audience, if you have any questions about Snapsight AI or the session that Mr. Anand just covered, make sure to type them in the chat session, and we'll answer them live briefly after all the speakers are done. Thank you for your session. Allow me bring in our next speaker, who is a woman who doesn't really need an introduction when it comes to the mice industry. He has championed to advance the sector since a long time ago, from the inception of the Africa Mice Summit in 2018 to the Africa Mice Hub in 2020. Kezi, we see your efforts, and we can't wait to hear all about what we need to do next when it comes to building the technologies for Africa. Thank you. Your time starts now. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Susan. And thank you, Francis and Anand. I just want to agree with Anand. The question that you posed to him, is AI coming to replace us, or is it going to make us more efficient? And Anand, I'm with you. I feel very tired right now. So if I had AI replacing me right here, it would not be a very bad thing. But I want to just take a few moments and possibly speak on the African event tech opportunity. We've had quite a bit of sharing from Francis and from Anand on the different opportunities that already exist on the continent and how their two solutions are filling the gap. But what I really do like is the conversation around where the building of technology should start. That we should not start with a solution. We probably need to start with the experience, and just taking time to understand the customer journey or the attendee journey, and to feel their pain points, so that then we are responsive when we develop tech solutions. We begin with the question: if events are the meeting points for Africa's trade, investment, and innovation, what then is the technology that would help us connect, execute, and to measure our events better? If we begin to think about our events, particularly business events on the continent of Africa, as economic infrastructure, then we have to ask ourselves, what kind of technology do we need to measure result, to measure impact better? The opportunity that has been articulated here around event technology, and for those of us who are already deploying technology in one way or the other in events, we can agree that it is the operating system of modern mice. Before the event, there is different tools technology tools that are being deployed for registration, for payments, for marketing. So pre-event, there's already a lot of tech consumption that is deployed by event organizers in a bid to enhance the experience for registration, in a bid to promote the event, and generally to create faster methods of getting delegates to register, maybe book their travel, book their accommodation, and even for venues, hotels that are joining us on the call, there is the opportunity to fast track uptake by leveraging on technology. Then, of course, during the event, there is elements of access control that was very well articulated by Francis, how we manage and share our agendas. There is a whole big question on B2B matchmaking, and we are particularly leveraging on artificial intelligence to do that matchmaking. There is now interpretation, live engagement. Snapsight is coming on board to help us quickly interpret the sessions, do take away notes, and delegates want to quickly be able to access what has been discussed. Then, of course, post-event, there is the element of analytics, the surveys, all of that. What used to be done manually, you now have the opportunity to launch surveys, to share maybe event analytics, do your attendance, compare different sessions, uptake, and all of that. So the point here is that event technology needs to be integrated into the entire journey of the participant, and it needs to be deployed in a way that makes it easier, not more difficult, but easier for venues, for event organizers, and most especially for attendees. So we've talked about moving from events to experiences, and Francis did really highlight this, that the goal is to make sure that the event technology deployed in an event contributes to the overall experience of the delegate. So we are looking at ensuring that we have platforms that then reduce the fragmentation of different touch points in the event to create a smooth flow, a smooth experience. You don't want a delegate having ease in registering, but then again, they cannot pay, or they have been able to register and make their payment, but then they don't know where to find the program. So it is tools and platforms that integrate that whole experience. Then, of course, tools that support the customer service that allow us to respond quicker to inquiries, to do our matchmaking. It is about platforms that help us to synthesize data. I keep saying that for us who manage events, we sit with a lot of data, but very often that data is disjointed. It is not coordinated. It doesn't speak to us. And we know that data is a new gold. If we had tools then that allow us to make sense of the data that we sit with, then we would make more fruitful, or maybe more impactful economic decisions using the events that we do. So adoption is growing, and across the continent, it has been said that we have more gadgets than mobile toilets. It is said. So adoption is really growing. The question is on capability. Having a broader or more even landscape when it comes to capability. So a research here showed that currently 45% of event organizers across the continent are actively using artificial intelligence in one way or the other. It could be in the preparation of proposals. It could be when we want to probably synthesize the data we have, or maybe matchmaking. In one way or the other, event organizers are actually deploying artificial intelligence. And for those who are not, out of those, 65% plan to increase that usage within the next 2 years. So we can already see the opportunity here for AI-driven technology solutions. But that same research identified barriers across the continent with event organizers, with hotels and venues, spoke about the human capital development question around skills and capacity, which then hinders use. So we have a lot of technology being bought by venues, event organizers, technology that is very, very complex. We ourselves as an agency have had that challenge where you adopt a piece of technology that then becomes difficult or impossible to use, particularly where the skill set does not match up. Then there's, of course, the cost of implementation. The cost of technology is still very high and above reach for many in the events industry. There is the issue of data privacy and how we manage trust. Thankfully, from a legal perspective, we now have certain limitations on how we can deploy client data. This question of trust has extended to the payment platforms that are in use. And then another limitation is around integration with existing systems, so that then you don't have to migrate from, say, your current accounting software. You want to be able to integrate that and keep building on that layer. So these are some of the barriers that those that are developing new solutions need to help us navigate. So we have a strong digital foundation to build on. We have interesting numbers when it comes to adoption of technology around the continent. We have talked about Africa being a mobile first interface. So you want to make sure that that solution it can be utilized on mobile. The other factor is the rate of penetration of mobile money platforms across the continent. Our own nation, Kenya, leading the ranks when it comes to the uptake of mobile money. So then making sure that there is integration with mobile money platforms that are in use. So that foundation already exists. You have the World Bank reporting that 84% of adults in low middle income countries already own mobile phones. So that already is a starting point that then speaks to even global technology firms about the opportunity on the African market. So the connectivity gap must shape the product. And this is that conversation of not starting with the product, but starting with understanding what the gap is on the ground. So some suggested perhaps tips for anybody investing in technologies. Number one, build mobile first, because of the nature of our utilization of tech as a continent. We're mobile heavy continent. So build mobile first. Then the understanding that you're working with majority of the population that is in low bandwidth areas. So developing solutions that will support low bandwidth or offline workflows, as opposed to pieces of technology that then become meaningless when you are in an event environment that does not afford you the level of bandwidth that piece of technology would need. Then, of course, there is the use of USSD, whereas 82% of adults over 18, and that number now really stretches to, of course, teenagers as well. A huge, vast majority of Africans are holding mobile phones, but we have to know that, majority of those will probably be reached via SMS. They will need a USSD code and all of that. And then, of course, make key services accessible without requiring the use of smartphones and data. So for those that are developing solutions, beginning by understanding the market, understanding our realities, understanding that access on the continent is not equal, that the experience of a user, say, in major cities will be different for users in far-flung areas. And because our events are held across the continent, then you need to balance that issue of access. So we've talked about already what particular touch points within the event ecosystem where technology has already made its mark. It's around registration, and we're seeing faster check-in. This has really impacted on going paperless when it comes to the registration process, the use of digital credentials. You have the use of self-check-in kiosk. So, and this eventually then impacts on attendance numbers. When we can reduce the barriers and the bottlenecks when it comes to registration, then you have more numbers and hence, higher profitability for event organizers or venues. Then for exhibitions and trade shows, it is really the issue of lead capture, being able to fast track how quickly exhibitors can exchange contacts with those visiting their booths. You have the digital directories, you have the attendees or trade visitors being able to quickly discover who is exhibiting in this place and, to touch base. The exchange of business cards digitally, that has an impact on sales and again driving up profit. And I just want us to read this, of course, from the angle of economic impact and how technology facilitates enhancement or increase in trade or the transactions within an event environment. In networking, of course, it's you leveraging on AI to drive B2B engagement, like I said, intelligent matchmaking based on priorities of the attendees, etc. Then, of course, there's a program delivery. You can do the live polling, so speakers are able to get quick, fast-hand feedback on what's going on, what's the mood in the room. We have certain tools that we're able to use to even tell how your delegates are feeling, so that then you're not speaking down at people, and that helps us then enhance engagement, and then that engagement contributes to better value overall for all attendees, and again pushes up the levels of interaction and the possibility of business being generated in that event. Then, of course, our ability to measure real-time data, conversion tracking, our ability to do post-event reporting faster. These are the areas that technology has really impacted for us, event organizers. So our gaps are largely operational. They are not aspirational. We are a very aspiration-driven continent. But these fragmented different operational elements, like when it comes to registration, payment, all of those gaps are the ones that may be at policy level as we continue to engage together as an industry. These are some of the things that we need to now begin to close on. There is a weak post-event lead management and community continuity, which means there are cases where we are generating the leads, but we are very weak as human beings to then follow up on those leads, close on them. Then there is, of course, we've talked about skills, internet quality, tech, all of those tech budgets are still an issue. Then we have limited interoperability across countries. We've had a scenario where we've had an excellent solution that could not be deployed in a particular neighboring countries because of maybe internet access, certain limitations. We have challenges with currency across the continent, so that like right now you're paying for the Africa MICE Summit, we're in different part of the continent, yet we leveraging on the US dollar for payment. So those differences in currencies, the different payment rails, of course, the language barriers, when you're interacting with, say, English speaking versus French speaking Africa, those are different operational issues that we deal with. And then, of course, access to reliable event data. This is a big one, that investors and policymakers still are not able to access real, reliable data from our industry. And that's one of the challenges that the Africa MICE Hub is trying to deal with. So what should we possibly build next? Like we said, we are very aspirational. We have, yes, the operational challenges, but it doesn't hinder us from dreaming. We're a continent of dreamers. Our aspiration radar is still very high. What could we possibly build over the next couple of years that could shift how we host meetings and events on the continent? Perhaps the Africa MICE Passport. And what is this? A reusable professional profile, for registration, credentials, sort of like a standardized way of data collection, or a profile of what it is that we need for our events. If we had a tool that is able to, help us just map that, your travel readiness, everything that a delegate would need to know or would need to have in order to attend an event in any part of the continent. Then, of course, it's a cross-border event commerce layer. Again, being able to convert currencies being able to, translate invoices that are issued in one currency to another, processing of refunds, and all of that, because processing of refunds in events is still a nightmare in many ways. Then there's a MICE matchmaking network, the matchmaking of buyers, suppliers, investors, and destinations. This is before, during, and after events, so that then networking commences before your physical arrival in an event. Then there is event impact intelligence. One of the things we're working on at the Africa MICE Hub is producing an intelligence report. And the goal here is to make sure that every event can measure the attendance quality. You can collate business leads. Can you imagine if you had a solution that allows you to quickly, from your engagements, to measure the value of the leads that you're generating in that event? Or maybe that can help me calculate what is the likely local spend for every conference that I host. And this then enables me to have intelligence for purposes of reporting. That data could be valuable to sponsors as well, to destination marketers. Yeah. Then, of course, the African Event Operations Platform that would help coordinate venues. Every time you have to book a conference, you have to hip hop and shop around and try and understand what does that destination offer, what is the procurement process in that destination. So perhaps a platform that would help us collate all of that. I'm just trying to imagine from an inspiration perspective how much that would help those of us who are in the ecosystem. The bottom line is, like Francis said at the beginning, we build for the ecosystem. It's not just a single company building, a single platform. It needs to be an ecosystem. It could be a product that is a platform, has a shared data standard, or an interoperable network, but not just a single app that sorts out only one or pain points. So partnership is a great factor. We keep saying that there is no single founder, no single tech company or government or destination that can solve or build Africa's MICE future alone. So we built the Africa MICE Summit as a platform to enhance partnership where MICE organizers can come into the room. They will give the execution models, they will give their user feedback, they will talk about the stories, the gaps, the struggles. Then, of course, the venues and destinations are in the room. They will share intelligence on infrastructure. The technology companies then do the development and the support. We have the telcos who are in the room at the Africa MICE Summit, and these are the ones that give us connectivity. They deal with issues of transactions and enabling us to do the payment. Then, of course, the government, investors, and academic institutions. So the Africa MICE Summit becomes the up-to-one platform that is a connecting factor. So we want to continue this conversation at the Africa MICE Summit in October. Our goal, even through this session, is to mobilize participation in the Africa MICE Summit Tech and Innovation Hub that is going to be at the summit. You can check details on the exhibition on the Africa MICE Summit. Allow me to hand it back to you, Susan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kezi, for that insightful presentation. There's one point you've mentioned about Africans being aspirational, and even in what we need to build next. For me, I'm looking forward to the Africa MICE Passport, where we can now see all these digital platforms coming together for the good of the industry. In the interest of time, allow me to bring in our Director of Strategic Partnerships, Mulemwa Muonga, who brings first-hand event expertise in event bidding and the technologies that shape the process. We've already heard about this technology. Let's now hear how they're revolutionizing the bidding process. Thank you, Mulemwa. Take it away.
Thank you so much. Greetings from Lusaka, and it's been quite an insightful session. I have personally gotten a few nuggets, and I think this conversation is very timely because when we're sitting and looking at tech, I think often we're looking and limiting our thoughts with AV. And so having this conversation today has done us a world of good. Now, before the delegates actually arrive to our sites, what they normally do is rely on technology for their travel and bed plans in the destinations that they are going into. Even before the delegate knows where they are going, is the bidding process and the transformation of the event bidding from paper-based to where now we've got various portals that are available for event hosts to really put out their events and for destinations to compete. That has become a game changer in the event bidding world. And what Africa now needs to do is to wake up to those conversations. I think there was a conversation, our speaker, Anath, I think, did touch on the AI conversation. And like him, I am ready for AI to take over my job. But until then, AI does quite a bit because when you look at the analysis, Kezi was talking about the data. The analysis that you're able to do as an event host is to assess the preparedness and the readiness of a destination. You're able to also review the economic impact because from the report of the previous event, you're able to assess the number of delegates that came in year 1 to year 50. You are able to do that for events now purely from a technology and an AI point of view that you're able to do in real time. And so when we look at the need to integrate technology in our processes, in what we're doing as event planners, we're now looking not just from the day the event starts, where we're thinking about the tech from the registration for delegates on arrival, the A&V, the interpretation. We're now looking at it from the holistic point. How much technology do we actually need to integrate in this event for this event to be a bit more meaningful? So on behalf of the Hub and on behalf of the summit, we're very excited to share the opportunity for you to be able to use the technology for your next event, as we've been offered an Africa Mice code as your discount rate. But more importantly, this platform and these conversations where we're having a webinar every other day, for us here and in hosting the Africa Mice Summit, this is the beginning that we're going to now hope you come and join us in Mombasa to really bring these conversations to a close. What we are building is a platform for conversation. What we are bringing you through these webinars is an opportunity for you to appreciate what exactly we're talking about when we're talking about the Africa Mice Summit being a platform that is bringing together different stakeholders. So Susan, thank you so much for the opportunity for me to have an opportunity really to share with the people that are on the call that when we're looking at technology, we're not just saying, this is something for the IT team. It's no longer just for the IT team. It's for us all. We need to now actively, as African destinations, understand what platforms are people, event hosts, event organizers, which platforms are we able to understand what bids are on the market? What is available with a 3-5-year pipeline? That is the kind of focus that we need to have when we're thinking technology. When it comes to destination promotion, it's how are we promoting? Most of us are promoting our flora and fauna more than we're actually promoting our mice capacities. But when we look at the value of mice in our destinations, the value of group bookings, we need to pay a bit more attention and to understand how, as destinations, are we going to leverage the different platforms from appreciating where associations and corporates promote their upcoming events, but also to integrate each of those platforms into our everyday operations. If you're a destination, if you're a hotel, what platforms are you on? If you're an event planner, where are you looking for clients? Because even from a planner perspective, I'm coming from a planner background, and that is what I am giving and saying from a planner background. I wish I knew more. Now, as I'm working as a buyer, I am able to sit at my desk and put out a request for proposal that I'm able to send globally. So you're not competing just in your country, you're not competing just in your region. You're competing globally, because sometimes clients will come to us. The client is sitting in a different continent and they're looking for a new exotic experience, something that is going to be unique for, say, an incentive group or for their conference that is looking for something new. Are you on those platforms? These are the conversations that we want to have when we get into Mombasa. So through this platform, and in the interest of time, I'd like to just use this opportunity to extend our invitation to you as potential exhibitors, potential attendees. We've actually spread out the summit over 4 days. We have 2 days pre-summit, which is going to have the master classes. We have 2 master classes anchored by ICA, which is the International Conventions and Congress Association. Then we do have SITE, which is the Society for Incentive Travel Excellence, that are going to be running master classes. But more importantly, as we are planning on growing the MICE agenda in Africa, we're not forgetting our custodians, who's going to be responsible for sustaining the strides that we make. And so our focus on future, on young people, is really to invest in the future for not just the summit, but also for the industry. So we will have 2 days that are dedicated to just building our capacities at different levels, at executive level, at entry level. We're going to have these activities. Then we get into the 2 days of the conference, where we're going to have different sessions that are targeting at policy level, at industry player. And then more importantly, on the last evening, what we're going to do is to have a recognition platform for excellence in Africa's MICE industry. So this is a clarion call to everybody on the call to extend this invitation to your teams internally to make the decision to be with us in Mombasa. Mombasa for us is not a new event. For us, it's evidence of where we're coming from. We're coming from 2018, when Kezi led the conversation in having the first summit, to now 2026, where we're having an in-person event in a different city, creating the mobility of events that we've been preaching about. So Susan, thank you so much to everybody that has turned up. I'd like to take this back to you in Nairobi for you to close us off as our moderator, and also for me to thank the panel that is here. I can see that we now have a poll that is online. So please, can we just respond to the question that is coming up on the screen? I am so sorry. I am under the weather, and the weather is so bad in Lusaka. We're in August when it should be sunny. It's freezing. So thank you for your attention, and the chat is still open. Maybe let me catch my breath, and then Susan, you can pick it up from your end. I'm still here to respond to any questions, but the panel also is with us. Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Anath, and thank you, Kezi, for this afternoon's session.
Thank you very much, Mulemwa. For our attendees, we have an ongoing poll, and this is just a continuation. We had a poll when we started this session that was asking, what is the gap? Now that we've listened to our speakers, we are asking, which area do you think that moving forward we need to invest more in regards to technology? You can kindly take part in the poll, and in the meantime, in the interest of time, we're trying to keep this, we were to keep it for 1 hour, but apologies for extending just a little bit. I want to conclude this by bringing all the speakers on the screen so that we can tackle just a few questions that have come up in regards to your presentation. So you all just come on the screen and then we can ask a few questions here. Allow me to start with Francis. It's been a long time since you spoke, so just allow me to start with you, Francis. So you talked about building technologies that are specific to the African market. And beyond that, you highlighted that we should not be specific to just event registration, that event technology is more than just the event registration process. So maybe you can tell us which specific technologies do you think as Africans we need to invest in, that we have the capability to invest in? And maybe looking at future projection, is it possible when we invest in such technologies to move from just consumers to exporters of the technologies that we invent? Thank you. Take it away.
Thank you, Susan. I believe the Africa is the next frontier in matters, everything, from maize to all the other industries. And my conviction is that we need to build technologies beyond just registration. There are so many gaps. Having been in this space, building with the people in the industry, the suppliers, the event organizers, the buyers, the venues, there's so many gaps that are there in the industry. And all we need to do is listen to these industry players. They always have something that needs to be sorted. Kezi talked about the operational issue, not the aspirational issue. We are not lacking in aspirations. The issues here are operational. And I'll give you an example where we have event organizers or event planners who need to connect with the venues. The data that event organizers, for example, collect ends up sitting with the event organizers, yet the venue needs to access that data. So we need to build the connection. And to me, every technology and the biggest opportunity that is there is on connection. Can these systems speak to each other? Can a venue have the visibility of the same data that the event organizer is seeing? Can the supplier see what is required for them to deliver in that particular venue? So the connection is where the big gap is, and there are so many technologies that need to be built in that space. So one person cannot solve this. It needs to be solved by different people, but then they come together and build ecosystems. So we must look at the ecosystem part of it, not just building one technology that is solving only one problem. I must be thinking, when I build this technology, can it connect with the other? When I build a registration technology, can it connect with polls, for example? Like in this space, for example, you're using a different technology to do something else in another space. So those are the realities. And if it's happening right now here, you can imagine what is happening out there in a space where even the mice conversation is not 3D in depth. Yeah. Back to you, Susan. Thank you.
We appear to have lost Susan. Anand, let me just ask for you, what do you see? And I know you're doing quite some business across the continent, African continent, but what do you see as the uptick of artificial intelligence? What is the uptick from where you sit?
Yeah, I think there's extreme excitement, and I would say the adoption is more agile compared to, an established organizations based out of other regions, because it is more agile, it is more easy to adopt, and complexity has been reduced. So as Francis was talking about connectivity, right? And thanks to we were living in the API nightmare before. Everything needed to be API connectivity, which needed more code and tech connections as such. But now, thanks to the MCPs coming up, thanks to connections becoming more easier with web flows and workflows, a smaller organization can make bigger connections and make faster connections and secure connections between systems. So that is what we have seen. That is why a smaller association based out of a region which is not specifically thriving earlier in technology now is reaching out to, a global tech like us based out of a different continent as such, and starting off their own version of experiences, not waiting for everybody in the region to adopt it. They're just starting off. So that is what we're seeing. Small levels of adoption has a big uptick right now in our AI ecosystem.
So perhaps as we hand it back to Susan, for the audience, what technology are you currently using? For the event organizers who are here, maybe for the venue, what technology are you using? Is it a registration app or whatever? Maybe you can just list what makes your work easier when it comes to managing events. Back to you, Susan.
Thank you, Kezi. To Anand, I had a specific question in regards to the AI models that we have in Africa. We have been consumers for the longest time possible. And one of the challenges that has come up is technologies that we're using in Africa are not specific to our markets. Maybe you can tell us what you're doing different.
I think I missed a few pieces of the question, but if I understand correctly, you're looking at talking about what kind of models that are made, because customizing models is first thing, but utilizing the basic level of models which are already present comes to the first question. So enterprise adoption starts when there is appetite for that level of adoption. So first, on a consumer level, if every individual or every organization on a B2B level adopts and consumes there, that is where the data and everything starts to be pooled in one place. And then using your own local models and local computing, that is where you can enrich your own models eventually. So that would be the first step. And for anyone to even look at locally enriching their own models, we would start at looking at creating utilizing the local compute power to create simpler experiences and utilize simpler workflows for that to begin with. That is where it will have the boosting of productivity will happen locally, and it will not enrich the external models, but it will start developing the models that are local.
Thank you for that reflection. Allow me bring in Mulemwa, and just a quick question, Mulemwa. How do platforms like the Africa Mice Summit support young innovators in the Africa Mice industry?
We have the opportunity now that was not there for when I think everybody that is on this panel, we have the opportunity of engagement. So when you are exposed, like we've said, we've got the Future Leaders engagement that we have as a pre-event, and this is not the first time that we're doing it. We've done it a couple of times, including in last year's event, where we go out And first, young people are very dynamic. Yeah, I mean, we're dealing with a generation, some that were literally, I don't know life before mobile phones. So the access to technology, the access to information, this gives you a different, an advantage that our generation and the generations of people that work in the events industry before didn't have. So for the Africa Mind Summit, what we've done is to recognize the value that young people bring to the table, because they are consumers, they are future clients, they are current clients, they are even our future employees. So giving access to young people with a platform like the Africa Mind Summit, but more importantly, a person like Anna, a person like Francis, as a mentor, as somebody that has the understandings of technology platforms, is able to give you a bit more information. And even as a young person that is trying to pursue whether it's an entrepreneurial path or a career path that is academic, you now have access to people that can guide you. So that is what we are bringing to the table as the Africa Mind Summit for young people. So looking for a ticket to attend the conference may not be the best idea because of obviously the cost, but we've then gone on and put out a whole session dedicated to young people, and we hope young people will be responsive to it. And this is a platform that is, people with experience from the industry coming to give their knowledge, coming to give their time, coming to even give their networks. So that is the value that a platform like the Africa Mind Summit is bringing. So thank you for that. I see Anath is very happy about it. So we'll see you in Mombasa teaching a session. I hope you will be there for the entire program. So
Thank you, Mulema, for that. And it wouldn't be good to end this session without projecting in the future. Kezi, you talked about what we need to build next. And maybe just looking at the future, if we were to convene again for this same webinar in 3 years' time, what are your projections like in terms of the technology that has changed a segment in MICE, and which is this specific segment?
I think just gauging on the conversations on this webinar and with the different partners with whom we are engaging, even in the lead up to the Africa Mind Summit, I can almost, with accuracy, project that the next 3 years ahead of 2030, that we will have massive revolution when it comes to how we manage our events. There are things that will be completely out of the picture. I think, how we register, how we do check-in events. I am looking at, a greater uptake of facial recognition within our events. I'm looking at harmonization on payment platforms across the continent. Of course, we do know that there is that initiative happening at the African Union level, but we will definitely begin to see a lot of it. I'm also looking at massive innovations around the exhibition space, how we exhibit, how we do data capture. I'm looking at more uptake around augmented reality, virtual reality within the exhibition floor, because we know that the current buyer wants to experience a product, not just be told about a product. So more experiential solutions on the exhibition floor. Our speakers in conferences, we probably will see more use of technology on stage than we do see now. We have a lot of panel conversations that are going to be out, and I think it's even within much less than 3 years. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of massive innovations for the hotels. Of course, the check-in desk will soon be a thing of the past. It's already happening in many parts of the continent. We definitely will see, robots a lot more in the restaurants, in the check-in desks, and yeah, we can expect that this word we say that events needs to be experiences we can expect that they will indeed become experiences that you walk into, not just events that you attend.
Thank you so much, Kezi. Thank you, Mulemwa. Thank you, Anand and Francis, for your perspectives and insights on this important conversation. Unfortunately, because of time, we're going to call it a wrap for today. But at the Africa MyStab, we always say the conversation continues. So for our attendees, we are also grateful that you joined us on this special occasion. Just one reflection from Rashida, and thank you for joining us, Rashida. You've been so active. You say technology can be a powerful enabler, but its real value lies in making events more accessible, efficient, and engaging for both organizers and participants. Closing the technology gap will be key to the future of growth of the Africa MICE industry, and we concur with you. The goal is to make sure that we advance the technology initiatives in Africa that in turn advances the MICE industry. I'm just gonna ask the tech team to get a picture of this session with all the speakers on the screen. So for our speakers, you can put up your best smiles. For the attendees in the background, you can as well help us smile. It will reflect. I mean, we are talking about technology here. And as we do that, allow me to just thank everyone who has made this session a great success. Please be on the lookout for communication from our end. We'll be sharing sessions from this webinar as well as other pre-event activities that we have that lead up to the Africa MICE Summit. Kezi mentioned we are undertaking the Africa MICE Industry Survey, and it has segments on the technology aspect. We'd love to hear what maybe are the opportunities, the gaps that maybe we haven't had time to discuss here that are affecting the industry. My name is Susan Agoi, and it's been a good session. See you on the next.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Susan.
All right,
Thank you,
bye-bye.
Susan.
Goodbye, Africa.
Bye.